Hey guys, welcome back to the Bug Show featuring me, your boy Ronald, your resident bug. That's a weird way to start this off, but we're gonna do it because it's funny, right? So today I just wanted to talk about Mega Colony, where we go from here, what's going on, and what happened. So first and foremost, I would like to discuss very briefly BCS at Rosemont this year. I took Mega Colony, a pretty standard list of Mega Colony. This is not that list, but I have it right in front of me. Basically, it's got Ride Up Dark Face into History Collection, it's got Light Elemental Peeker, it's got Saphira. You know, you're basically Mega Colony good stuff, and, see what happens. And what ended up happening was not winning, but getting 37th place, which is pretty good, my best personal result ever. So I'm happy about it. What did I play against? I beat Narukami Eradicators twice. I beat Altmile. I beat, oh my gosh, it was Brant Ringer. That one was like a really crazy match. I didn't expect to see Brant Ringer. I lost to Spike Brothers because I misplayed and completely forgot about Darkface GB2 plus Brilliant Blister, and the fact that shuts down their stuff and everything and ends their entire turn, so whoopsies, my bad. And I lost to Commander Jaime, who was on my gravy, use your brain cells, man. I lost to Commander Jaime, who was on Crest Hari. There we go. Oh my gravy. Aside from that, I also did play a Grand Blue player. You heard me clicking because I was trying to get that open because I was like, oh, what were my rounds? Yeah, I played against Grand Blue and I ruined their entire day. You know how it is, Mega Colony moment, right? 5-2, not bad for the final tournament with 4 Gredoras. But what happens now? There goes 2 Gredoras, right? Your G-Zone now only has a grand total of 2 of these bad girls. That opens up so much room in your G-Zone. What do you replace it with? Well, there's a lot of options. But I want to discuss the main deck before I discuss the G-Zone, because obviously if you're only doing this twice, you want to focus on either riding up into History Collection or having a general ride up turn and then finishing the deck off with, like, what type of finisher do I go into? Maybe I'm gonna stride into Harmonix Messiah to win the game. So, of course, if you're gonna run your History Collection stride, you want to basically just run Darkface good stuff list and you'll win. Because then you'll be able to ride up, get this, generate GB2, another GB2, another GB2, and if you G-Guard once, you can then focus on going into Tarantus plus Death Warden Antlion to have a finishing turn. So there's basically the generic, like, oh, here's what we do, here's what you can do, but that's not all there is. So first and foremost, what else could we be doing? Moving this pile of crap here, I'm gonna start with some generic good stuff. Where can you start? What type of things might you want? Bikyun, one of the funny Cray Elementals. It's a grade 0 that has 1 place on Guardian Circle. If your opponent's Vanguard is attacked 2 or more times, it's a PG, basically. This is amazing, and it also doesn't say that, like, this has to be during the battle the Vanguard happens, so, that's pretty cool. It's pretty good right now, the meta having Hari plus Night Rose as, like, the crest builds makes Bikyun probably pretty good, so you might want to consider running it. Rollock, no. Don't bother with Rollock, but it's a PG if you're on grade 2, especially if you're going to go with the build where you would rather go blind into riding up. Yeah. This is another card where if you're going blind first, you want to run Peeker, because then you can ride your Darkface, call this to your field, and make your Darkface a 13k. Basically, it'll help you stay alive. And then Hanali. Hanali, Night Rose, and Hari both have a hard time dealing with it, so you know, out of these four, like, very generic, like, ooh, these are ones that you might already have. These three are really good right now. Specifically in Mega Colony, you don't have a way to ride back down, so Rollick's never going to be that good. But, you know, they're there. Getting into some Mega Colony Grade 1s that are just pretty generic and pretty decent. We got Mega Colony Battler M. This is a solid shield and soul charge. I would say only really run this if you're doing like a dark face build and you want a soul charge, or if you were going to run something else that uses a lot of soul, or cradles, because if you have cradles you can search out your grade 1s. Parapon Evil, I love him. I think he's awesome. It's a big shield, it's a G Guardian, and it's got an effect that will give your Vanguard plus 5k for turn, just like one of the other grade 2s that we have. I think same thing about this card, except a little more generic. You might want to run this in more decks than what you would run Battler M in. Small Captain Butterfly Officer, it's just pretty good, you know. Soul Charge, Counter Charge, Power, it's got it all. You might not want to run a ton of any of these cards, but you would consider running some, if any. Area Stiller. Stiller is a protect generator if you don't mind soul blasting out your grade 3s. Of course, if you're running Death Warden Antlion as your main way to kill someone, then Area Stiller is garbage, so take that into consideration. And Brilliant Blister. Brilliant Blister is bad right now. Well, this version. The other version is way better. This doesn't do anything in the current meta. And then skipping along to some grade 2s, what might you want? We're going to start here with Sweet Cocktail. This is a non-negotiable card at this point for Mega Colony. This is like the best Guardian we have. It'll Cradle Marker one of your opponent's units, and it'll draw you cards. It's one of the best Guardians. Battler S. Battler S is only, again, good in 2 deck builds, in my humble opinion. One, the Dark Face build, where you want to get a ton of Soul Charge off to make sure that you can Soul Blast 2 to 4 to 6 every turn to ruin your opponent's day. Or, for the Soul Blasting version, gunning Colio middle list. And then lastly, Steel Ant. I would love to see Mega Colony get a Dark Face Stride deck set in D Series very soon. The likelihood of that is low. However, all of your D Series decks are basically running their version of this, where you can discard it to top 5 cards of your deck for a grade 2 or less card and add to your hand, because they want to see their, what's it called? The crest making grade 1. So you might want to pick it up just for that, for the eventual, if you plan on playing Mega Colony long term, but for now it's just there as a random generic. And then your 3, like, sort of finishing cards. We've got, let's talk about Death Warden Antlion, because I've already talked about him a little bit. Soul Blast to grade 3, discard 2, plus 10k, plus a critical, no Sentinels. This is an amazing card to call off of Gredora, because not only do they have a G-Guard restriction, also it'll get 10k from its own ability, 10k from Gredora, and if you're really going in on a Gredora kill turn, this will just be huge and have a lot of guard restricts, so this is a very strong finisher. Same thing with Tarantus. If you've gone all game and you've seen like the most of their like G guards after kind of waiting for a while, Tarantus will buff the crap out of him most of the time. More reasonably, you're just generic extender. Helldemize, basically when you call it off Gredora, you stand one of your units. Pretty cool, right? And then this guy, Intrude Scissors. Again, more Soul Blast heavy, but on placed Soul Blast 1, choose one of your rear guards and stand it, and then this unit gets plus 10k. So it's like a bigger version of Helldemize, but it costs a Soul Blast. So most people are running Helldemize, but if you've got a build where you don't need Soul so much, Intrude Scissors not bad. So these are some generics you might consider, you know, for like a generic good stuff deck list, but let's say you want to go a little more specific, or you want to take some of these generics and put them into a specific deck build. Where can we go from there? So we've got the Dark Face deck list that's been talked about to death by everyone. You've got your Dark Face, your GB2, you ride up, you stride, you do crazy stuff. What else can we do? There's this, your Gredora deck, right? You've got your plant tokens, plant token generator, field maker for a Soul Blast, and plant token protector for Razor Protector. I don't freaking know, man. Basically, it's you generate plant tokens, you play like Neo Nectar, and you G-flip like Cyclone for your Gredora, and you just go crazy with your plant tokens. There's a couple other cards that you want to run specifically for this, but obviously generates a soul and makes 2 plant tokens. Soul Blast 1, retire 2 of the rear guards and choose a grade 2 or less card from your drop zone to call. And then, of course, beginning of battle phase, if you have Gredora and Radilena, you can get a plant token, but, you know, maybe you're not running Radilena in this deck. Being able to choose selectively a grade 2 or less from your drop zone is insane, because, of course, Mega Colony has a lot of insane grade 1s and grade 2s that are pretty solid that you might want to call, so that's something. And then Gredora, 13k body, being able to retire 1 or more token to get plus 5k until end of battle, just kind of like helps be a little more tanky. So here's a potential deck build if you're interested in something that plays more like Neo Nectar. I'm not huge on it myself, but one of the next ones I am huge on. You've got Gunning Colio. Gunning Colio is perhaps one of my most favoritist silly little guys, as it were. Gunning Colio, when placed, this unit gets plus 5k plus drive until end of turn. Then put the top card of your opponent's deck into the drop zone, and if it's a grade 3 or greater, plus 10k and another drive. Then you can act Vanguard Circle once per turn. Soul Blast 1, grade 3, put the top card of your opponent's deck into the drop zone, and your opponent cannot call the same grade as that card from his or her hand until the end of turn. You can ride this and start milling out your opponent. You just, you know, the supporting cards for it do the same stuff. You get mill after mill after mill. This one gets guard restrict. This one gains criticals. This one draws you a card. This one refuels your soul after soul blasting and gains power. So, you know, you've got your, you don't have to run every single card of this at max, but you've got a basic general, I'm going to mill the crap out of you kind of thing. And then if you want, you can potentially consider like striding Gredora twice, getting your 2 Malignantis up, and then removing or using 2 Malignantis plus having one of these in your drop zone. And if your opponent's like pretty low on deck, you can use Battler S to mill them out the rest of the way. Or if they're far from being decked out, you can just kind of try and make a triple drive to quad drive, minus 20k to your opponent's front row, Soul Blast to grade 3 for a restrict, on place Counterblast 1 and restrict, and then you can swing with this guy, and if it's like, oh, you can't really guard with much, then they might take this damage, and then if they do take a damage, you can swing with your other front row rear guard and then use this guy after your Vanguard attacks to call it from the drop zone. There's some fun stuff you can do with this deck. I personally think this is one of my like top 3 deck variants to play. But I'm also just a big fan of Gunning Colio. Getting into one of the next ones, this one, it doesn't feel as good since Levy Dross happened. So, you know, you've got your Dark Face Gredora, she will make 2 cradles. You've got your Dark Face on place, he'll make a cradle. Search for either of the 2 of these and draw cards based on cradles. Create a cradle, draw a card, create a cradle, remove cradle, and, you know, it's kind of more of a retire invested control deck. I don't particularly think it's my favorite build, but it's fun, you know, it's not horrible. I just don't think there's much in terms of cradle because you want to be playing as V-Series Gredora, and if you're not striding your G Gredora, then you don't want to see Gredora. Alternatively, you could be locking your opponent out with the G-era Gredora. So, there's stuff. Giraffa, this is just a very consistent deck engine. It'll draw you cards with this ride line. It'll search out the rest of your ride line with these. And then for a potential finisher of a turn, you can use Giraffa Reverse to, again, double Malagnatus. After you've Gredora'd twice, you can, or just Strode Malagnatus and G-Flip Malagnatus. You can then use a double Malagnatus to put 2 other Giraffas to Soul, and then use his ability to restand and gain power to the front row, and basically just go crazy. Because it says here, when attacks Vanguard, counterblast 1, your opponent chooses 1 or more card from their hand, call those cards to rearguard circle as rest. Your opponent's auto abilities do not activate from this call. If your opponent called fewer cards than the number of grade 3 cards with Giraffa in your soul, lock one of your rear guards, stand this unit. So basically, with this guy as your main boss, if you ride up, you want to counterblast, put another copy of himself to soul, and then when you go to this guy, if you've done this, you want to put 2 more. You've got 1, 2, 3, and then if you have, I don't remember what it was, there's grade 2 that you can run that'll put more cards to your soul. You can use that to go even crazier, get like, oh, discard 4, or I'm gonna restand with plus 15k to the front row. Perhaps the 2 most fun semi-crazy deck builds that I personally have come across. One is the Lascaria deck build. Of course, you can see I love Lascaria. I don't think it's all that good. Basically, you're just gonna use your Aerofist to restand whenever your Vanguard attacks and swing for some solid numbers and countercharge because of Lascaria, but there's not a lot of amazing Blitz orders aside from Elementaria, so you don't really want to do that. But the other one, of which I have up on my computer screen in front of me, but I also have been playtesting with myself, is the Mythiarch deck build. You may or may not have seen on Twitter that Peter, Chad Thundershock, Peter is a great Mega Colony player, and he said, quote, got top 8 at BCS Tampa, Florida, with Mythiarch Gize Gredora, alongside at KSC The Legacy, and at the Mino No, I don't know, making the deck have a 100% top cut conversion rate, as we were the only people on this in the room. I wasn't expecting to top, but it was a pleasant surprise. It's a really funny deck. Basically what you do, because, and you can do this with Rotoa as well, technically, because Mythiarch is a Stoicheia card and not just a, not just Mega Colony, you can utilize Megado in your G-Zone if you run Neon Gize in your main deck at any point, because all that Neon Gize says is like, oh, you can run you can run the other Zeros in your G-Zone. And so like you can do this with other decks, but Mythiarch, it just works the best because on place you can utilize her ability plus the grade 1 that calls itself plus like Maple, and then like 1 other card on field to then, wait, hold on, would that be enough? Because you'd have 1 Maple card that calls itself plus 1, so you'd probably have to have like 2 on field, I guess, because you need to have 5 to make your opponent discard a card. And then if you've done the Mega Colony thing and you've stalled the game, you hopefully have all 4 of this card, and then you'll go into Megado, and if you get like the absolute nuttiest nut, you minus 20k to their front row, because if you call 4 of these and then 1 other card, you can call something like, here, let's pretend this is Megado, you call these, and then you call this here. You can then put this to soul with 1, and then you can put another, like call a card from hand, whatever, doesn't matter, put it to soul as 2, and then you can call another card from your hand, because then these will all have the end of battle abilities, so you'll swing, swap, swing, swap, swing, swing, right? And I'm just going to leave them like there. Then you'll swing with your Vanguard, boosted or whatever. This maybe isn't a booster. Let's say it's just another copy of Mythiarch. Then you can Soul Blast 4 and restand all of these. They'll all gain 10k. Swing, swap, and, do your whole thing. And once you've swang and swapped 4 more times, you can then swap the last one over here and then swing there. And so, do I think this is the best deck going forward for Mega Colony? Absolutely not. Do I think it's the one that I'm currently playtesting? Well, clearly, it's the one in the sleeves. Where do I think Mega Colony is going to end up? I think it's going to still be a pretty good deck. As I can very happily say, most of my games ended within the first 2 Gredora strides. Looking at my rounds. So we've got the first Eradicators I beat on second stride. I definitely called out Death Warden Antlion and got a critical, and it made it so that 3 damage had to happen and he couldn't heal out of it because he only had 1 heal. And so there was that. That happened. Brantringer I beat on the first Gredora stride because Gredora. Yay, Gredora. Spike Brothers, I didn't get to stride Gredora because I screwed up. That's my own fault. Why am I forgetting yet again what this guy played? Oh, Grand Blue. Grand Blue I beat on the second Gredora stride. He got the crest, and so he was stuck into Night Rose. He saw 2 in his damage zone and rerode 1, and so he was like, well, that's all 4 of them. And I don't have any way of getting any of them back to my hand this turn, so good game, bye-bye. He didn't get to... He was like, he doesn't want to play a game of, like, long slow burn against Mega Colony, so he just kind of opted out. Then Commander Jaime, of course, I did 2 Gredoras, and then I lost to the third stride of Hari stuff, so, Then beating Alt Mile, I did that on the first Gredora, and then beating the other Eradicators, I went Gredora, Tarantus, because he had 3 cards in deck, and that's how the game went. So, do I think Gredora's dead? Absolutely not. This stride is still like the most insane stride you will ever see, and now, more than ever, I think is the best time to try out all of these wacky, funky, silly little builds that you've considered. Magnolia is a fun one because you can stride Gredora twice and then ride Magnolia and get 6 attacks. If you have, you would probably run like 3 copies of the grade 4 Magnolia and at some point call it to field and put it to soul for your Malignantis, so, You've got some options. There's a lot you can do, and I think that the deck is very unfinished, very undecided on where you can go. Of course, I personally am going to lean more towards Darkface Ride Up, but right now the Mythiarch deck is very fun to play around with, so have fun with it. Try your D-Series cards that you might like. Flagberg was one that I ran for one season. I thought that potentially having the aggro that season was important because of the Aqua Force matchup. The answer was no, because Aqua Force, Eradicators, as well as Mystery Flare free turn deck does not care what you do. They just kind of steamroll you or they die. So, I think it's a great deck, and I think it is very worth looking into and very worth your time, personally, and especially like right now. I would hope that Gredoras are skyrocketing downward in price because everyone needs to sell 2 of their 4 copies. I'm not selling any of mine, so you cannot have them. I will keep 4 copies of this card, even if it gets banned, till the day I die, and they will be buried with me. That's just the truth of that. So anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I look forward to seeing what potentially can be done in the future and what other people can come up with for the Gredora deck, for Mega Colony in general. And I hope dearly that they come out with a new set for strides, because I think that in this day and age we could all do with more strides or G-guards or main units. But I think it's been a while since we've had a lot of really impactful strides, aside from the history collection just revitalizing some silly stuff. So, you know, it is what it is, and hopefully this video was helpful to anyone who may be lost trying to figure out where you're going from here. So if it did help in any way, I would appreciate you telling me what you've got planned. So if you could, just let me know in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day, and stay buggy, my friends, because if you don't, I'll bug you. Oh, frickin' no.